Welcome to Solo, the single person's guide to a remarkable life. Your host, a behavioral scientist and bachelor, talks to leading experts and successful singles about living solo and living well. Travel more, make things, sleep in when you want to. Here's the playbook for the person who is unapologetically unattached. Now, please welcome Dr. Peter McGraw.
In this episode, I sit down with a fascinating solo guest and a new guest co-host. We learn about our guest's fascinating approach to dating and sex, in which he dates friends and sleeps with strangers. We discuss what makes a good friend versus an acquaintance, and present tips for developing friendships and building a community. I also present a mini lesson about how friendships can be superior to romantic partnerships, an idea espoused by Epicurus, an ancient Greek philosopher. If you stick around to the end, I'll give you a report on people's reaction to the launch of the podcast. We answer a couple listener questions, and my guest and co-host reveal what they do on Valentine's Day. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Welcome to Solo, the single person's guide to a remarkable life. I'm Peter McGraw. Today's guest is Josh Gray-Emmer. Josh is the founder and CEO of Bridge, a full-service agency specializing in community engagement, website development, and social media. He's a 24-year veteran of the Sundance Film Festival with a film he wrote and produced, premiering there in 1997 when he was 18 years old. He's also an 18-year resident of downtown LA and the host of the DTLA Dinner Club, a free celebrity chef dinner party focused on building community and not profit. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And please welcome our new guest host, Lily Rains. Lily's a storyteller, arts educator, crafter of needlework, and maker of delicious homemade ice cream. Though solo, Lily loves to be part of an ensemble with a shared goal, be it on a softball field, in an escape room, or getting a play, movie, or television show made. Welcome, Lily.
I'm so glad to be here.
So I actually met both of you through other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I met Lily at an event I do. I do a dinner party called the Dilemma Dinner, and she came recommended by one of my I'm Not Joking guests, Nicole Blaine.
Yes.
No, Jen O'Donnell.
No, Nicole Blaine.
Nicole Blaine.
Yeah.
I got to check that one out.
So great.
Cool.
The Nicole Blaine one is one of my best.
Awesome.
Because of Nicole. I almost cry in that episode.
She does that.
And then,
she's amazing.
Josh, I met you through a mutual friend, Darwin Metzger, who also is a guest on I'm Not Joking.
And I saw he got a shout out in your book.
He did indeed, in my first book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Josh and I met in DTLA a few weeks ago, and we were just chatting about business and LA and so on. And I had mentioned this secret project that I was working on. And Josh probed, and I was like, it's not that secret. So I told him about solo. And I don't remember exactly the phrase you had, but you said...
Yeah, I prefer to date my friends and sleep with strangers.
That's exactly right. You said, this is my life. Mm-hmm. And then he said, I date my friends and I sleep with strangers. And I said, I'm going to have you on this podcast. And here we are. So why not? And by the way, the tentative title for this, I rarely start with a title, is Dating Friends and Sleeping with Strangers, a Valentine's Day episode.
Perfect. I love it. That's what you should do for Valentine's Day for sure.
So we're going to return to Valentine's Day in the bonus material. So we're going to hold off on that.
Right.
But let's, I'm sure Lily already has questions based upon that phrasing of Josh's life.
Can I?
Yeah, of course.
So, is the way that you meet people different between becoming friends and becoming lovers?
Lovers. Such a gross word.
Sorry.
But I'm going to interject here. There's not a good word.
No, there's not.
Lover is the best word.
Yeah. Person. And listen, and I'm very...
Hook up? I mean, like
right.
Really...
Make out.
Friend with benefit?
Yeah. Fuck buddy. Pillow buddy.
Pillow buddy.
What? We're back in college now?
I've never heard pillow buddy.
You haven't?
No. I don't think I have either.
Aw, you share
like
your
it, though.
pillow
I'm gonna try
with a
that next
buddy.
time. Hey, bro, you want to be my pillow buddy?
Yeah. You cute. You look like you don't have lice. Want to come share a pillow, buddy?
I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm never actively looking for a hookup with people in real life. I'm looking for friends. I'm looking for new, interesting, and unique people. And I strike up random conversations with lots of people for like no reason. There's definitely groups of people out there who like some weirdo tried to talk to me at the coffee shop today, you know, but I have met. So every morning I get up, I walk to a coffee shop 2 blocks away from here. I read the news and I have coffee for about an hour or two. And, I have met at that coffee shop over the years quite a few really good long-term friends. And it's just because they were sitting there reading an interesting book, or I overheard a conversation they had on the phone, or, there was a guy there who had a cool looking camera he was playing with. And I will strike up a conversation and be like, just trying to suss out, are you interesting, unique in some way? And then I'm very, very good at like keeping and maintaining long-term friendships. And then for hooking up, I just do that online. Thank God for Grindr. It's the easiest thing it's just so easy, unbelievably easy.
It's almost
Straight people don't have any concept of how easy hooking up on Grindr is.
We're going to return to that.
Okay.
I know the listener's like, come on, tell me it all. But
Listener, me, I'm like, all the things I want to talk. No, not right now.
we're coming.
We'll get back.
We're going to come back to that.
Delaying gratification.
Because I think the thing, like that idea is interesting to me, because I think, when I think about when I meet someone in a coffee shop, it's usually someone I'm attracted to. Right? And so I'm kind of, and that's sort of very old school to sort of meet someone in real life kind of thing. But otherwise, I got my head down and I'm working on my writing or whatever it is. Unless someone I was like, oh, wow, she's cute. I don't know how I'm going to actually talk to her, given that no one talks to each other
Being
anymore.
a homo makes it super easy, man. It's like I can gay it up just a little bit more to talk to a girl and instantly disarmed.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then guys as well. I'm not very threatening. Like there are some distinct advantages in life to being a homo for sure.
Interesting.
Especially when it comes to making friends quickly and starting conversations with randos, right? Especially women are going to be instantly on guard with a straight dude.
Sure.
Because they think, oh, he's trying to sleep with me, or what's he want? With a gay dude, they're more intrigued. Like, oh, why? What's going on here?
That is so true, because it's one thing if you're like, I like to say that for me personally, I can play in the sandbox and I can play on the soccer field. I just want to know what game we're going to get into.
Of course.
So like if you see me coming with my cleats, we're playing soccer, right? But I can hang out with anybody. I like a lot of people. I like a lot of things about a lot of people. And I was told as a younger lady that I'm a big flirt. And now as an older person, I do feel like I have
You're still a lady.
I'm still, I'm a woman who seldom acts like a lady that your grandparents would recognize in the definition of ladylike behavior. Anyways, I am my own self. So the point that I'm trying to make, though, is that as I get older, the micro boundaries that you have created so that you can regulate expectations and like why you're connecting with people. And if I approach a couple, I usually am a little bit more focused on the woman so that it is less of a threat.
Right.
So that's interesting that you found a chance to dial up or down. Do you feel that's inauthentic, or do you feel that's a part of just that
It's
barrier?
not inauthentic because it's the test phase. They'll get to know the real me real quick if you pass the test phase, right? I'm just trying to foot in the door, see if you're cool, see if you're interesting, what kind of unique thing do you bring to the table, and then like I'm never trying to hide who I am or not be myself, because that's just a waste of everybody's time. So
what does it take to pass the test? I'm asking for Lily.
I want to be your friend. Can I be your friend?
We're friends already.
Okay, great.
You did it. Not boring, for God's sake. That's really the only thing. I feel like I've met so many different types of people in my life, and almost all people fall into specific categories. There's like maybe 20 categories of people.
That's a lot of categories.
I know. But when you're meeting, thousands of people over a lifetime, it's super intriguing that you can recognize the same type of person in your life over and over again. And I would say that like, half of those categories of people are just so boring. And the other half of those categories of people are like fantastic, weird, quirky, interesting. And I want all sorts of them, all the people in that half, and none of the people in the other half. And so, yeah, that's all I'm looking for.
Okay, so you're looking for an interesting person.
Yes.
Okay. So this is actually this is a question that I wanted to get to. So I like the fact that you are sort of on the hunt for friends.
Always.
Yeah, you're on the hunt for friends. And the idea that you date your friends, I think, is an especially interesting idea that we're going to also return to. But what is it? So you say you're looking for interesting, intriguing, and a friend. Lily?
I'm intuitive. Like if there's a buzz that happens, that's what draws me in. So it is chemistry. And sometimes I can be stimulated intellectually. Sometimes I can be stimulated in like full on joy, child play. I don't do well looking directly into the sun. So like if you were the thing that makes me is sometimes what people want to set me up on a blind date about. And that thing goes away. The second there's an expectation, oh my gosh, you're going to love, even if it's
any phrase that begins that way, it never ends well.
It's a little, man. And even if it's just platonic.
Yes.
For the most part, like I'll get along with people, but if you set me up to say, oh my gosh, you're going to love this person, or they're going to love you, or go meet this person, I have an expectation. It dims my light, and I'm not vibing at my authentic, frequency.
I agree completely.
So that's where it's like, put me in. That's where I say, well, let's have a secondary focus, like a game night or a dinner or a thing, so that you can just show up and like witness each other in space and interacting with others. And that's where I'll be like, oh, I do want to hang out with you, sexually or platonically, right? Romantically or platonically. I
almost never hang out with people that I just meet in any kind of one-on-one situation. I'm always inviting them to a dinner club, which is a great thing to have as a regular like thing that I do every Wednesday. Having 30 people over to my home for a celebrity chef style free dinner party is an excellent way to like bring someone into my world, give them a little taste of my friends and of me without overwhelming them on me personally. And then, like I like dim sum on Sundays. It's always a big group. I'm always doing something with a group of people, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think about, and my groups are also very different. Not all of my groups cross each other, right? So I'll think like, oh, you should join me on Friday for bro drinks, right? So every Friday, right here, I have anywhere between 5 and 10 people over, just depending on who's
Did you
available.
Say bro?
Bro drinks.
Bro drinks.
It's all bros.
Okay.
They're like after hour drinks. And
where you're drinking like Aperol Spritz and rosé, mimosas.
Cosmopolitan.
Okay. Yeah. Ciders.
But like we've had girls over to bro drinks. I just call it that because it's super broy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like what part of my life, what like group thing that I'm doing, and I'm doing lots of them, are you going to most feel comfortable in? And then it's like, hey, come join for this. And that's test number 1.
Yeah.
Right? If they should, you eliminate half the people right there because they don't show up, or they say they will and then they flake. Right? So, just showing up, my respect level skyrockets, right? Because I know it's hard to show up. It's hard to do things. And I give you a lot of respect for like meeting me, saying you'll do something, showing up. I realize that that's difficult, especially when you aren't going to know anyone else there. I promise all my friends are cool though.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've done 2 things then. You've done quite a few things in what you just were sharing. You've created a community center, obviously, of your life, right? With like a social calendar.
Right.
And you're pretty, you show up for yourself and your friends show up to be a part of it.
Consistency. It's all consistency. The only way that you're able to like build and maintain long-term friendships is through consistency.
And that's showing up.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then you've filtered so many people in different ways, right? You let the new friend / intimate partner filter through your community.
Never intimate partner.
Really?
I don't mix those 2 worlds.
Okay.
So if you get invited to dim sum,
I'm not sleeping with you. I would never, and I'm attracted to dum-dums.
Not dim sums.
No. I am not attracted physically to the kind of people I would want to hang out with. So unlike I have friends who are also attracted to the same type of people, but because they're heterosexuals, I think there's this whole thing where they've got to like go out on dates with them and bring them out to their things. And I'm like, I have the luxury of not doing that. And so I'm not going to imitate those purely heterosexual patterns, right? I don't have to, so I'm not going to.
That's a really interesting idea, because I think for me, the person I date and the person who becomes a friend share very similar qualities. And then there's just something about them or something about the circumstance that guides them into one or the other.
I have been physically attracted to someone that I met before, and I was like, oh my God, you're so hot. And I go over and I talk to them and I start to get to know them. And then they like come meet up for something and they're like really smart and interesting. And by the end of that first hangout, I'm no longer attracted to them.
I see. Now
they've moved to friend category. You're cool. Like,
but that's someone that, so what is that thing though? Like all of a sudden you trust their judgment. What is the thing that is now adding to the physical attraction that then turns you off in a chemical way?
I'm very specific on what I'm physically attracted to.
And
you have a type.
When you're sexually intimate with somebody,
I don't ever want to see them again or talk to them afterwards.
And for you, you're okay with this?
It's awesome.
No, he's more than okay with it.
Yeah.
He brags about it.
Yeah,
Great.
The sex is amazing. The plentitude of available dum-dums out there is staggering.
Okay.
In
the meantime, I still need to find good dim sum.
Right. I will show you
I look
NBC
forward.
Seafood, Alhambra, where the Chinese people are. Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I keep them very separated. The only time that they cross over is when I have in the past experimented, let's say, with straight friends. And I feel kind of like honored that like they're like coming to me to try that shit out. It's a little worrisome because I don't want to fuck up the friendship, But the great thing about most straight dudes is they'll pretend it never happened right afterwards.
Sure.
Which is great for me because I want to pretend it never happened too. It was awesome. It was super fun. I had a great time. If you want to do it again sometime, totally cool. Like there's like a code word all straight dudes have if they want to like hook up. And it's like, hey bro, you got any porn? It's incredible how many times I've heard that. And so
this is news to me.
So then,
I'm so bad.
But it's great because they won't talk about it again. So you don't have to destroy the friendship, right? Other than that, there's no crossover.
You don't have to destroy the friendship because both participants agreed to have absolutely no discussion or vulnerability around it ever again.
Damn straight. Exactly right.
Okay, so are you vulnerable with your friends?
Yes.
So you're being satisfied in all the pistons that we have in life, right?
I have the ideal partner. I just split them up into multiple people.
There you go.
I am fully loved. I feel love from my best friend from high school, Raina, my best buddy, Greg, who I consider like a brother. We chat every single day. We text each other, right? We see each other only a couple times a year, but like we chat about stupid shit. We chat about, life goals and things that scare us, right? Like if I got sick, I would have friends here who would help take care of me, right? I feel love and I give love to my friends, and I'm great at maintaining incredible, really fulfilling, long-term, 20-year plus friendships. I have lots of those, and I value them a lot. I just took my ideal mate and I split them up into multiple people.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to a few ideas here, and so one of them is this idea of what makes a good friend. And so
I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, this is something that I've thought about and talked about, and some of the things that I think make a good friend have come up right now. So I'm stealing this word from Darwin, who you know, which is they're energizing.
Not the Darwin. You have a mutual friend named Darwin.
Yes, that's right.
Who's
Spelled
a part
differently
of your origin story.
with a Y.
Right. Who I met at dinner club.
Love this.
There you go. So he uses the word energizing. So you said intriguing, you said interesting, right? I think those are all good words. And then you, I think, alluded to two that I have. One is trustworthy.
You bet, damn straight.
Right. So a good friend is trustworthy.
Yeah.
You can tell them your secrets.
Right.
That's probably the most important of those kinds of things. The other one is reliable. And so
excellent. Well put.
You actually give them a test, which is come to dim sum, come to bro drinks.
Bro drinks.
come to the DTLA dinner club.
Mm-hmm.
Come to what? Do you have any other regular things?
Just dinners, hanging out. Yeah, I do
Okay.
lots of dinners.
So people show up. They say they're going to be there. Are they there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those.
I have very little like tolerance for flakes.
Yes.
And it's a very LA thing for people to flake. People don't understand the difference between flaking and canceling.
Thank you.
They're
Will you
very,
please-
very different things.
That's literally the question I was
Canceling
gonna
is
ask.
calling and saying, excuse X, I won't be coming. Sorry, I don't mean to waste your time.
Yes.
Right? Flaking is canceling within an hour, I consider flaking. And or hitting me up afterwards and saying, oh, so sorry, I totally forgot, whatever it is. Or just, true flaking where you just pretend it never happened and you didn't say you were going to come to that thing. I have no patience for that.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
that's the reliability box, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
The other, like, sort of more mild form of that is like someone who's like consistently late.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of shows like, they believe their time's more important than
I
that
agree
of the
with you.
group and
Yeah.
so on.
Well, the thing that's really important, I was very depressed in my mid-20s. I was seeing a shrink. I'm a big fan of psychiatry. And I was very, very depressed because I thought that I was willing to give all of myself to my friends and they weren't willing to give it back to me. And my shrink helps me understand that I didn't know the difference between a friend and an acquaintance.
Ah, yes, please.
And
So
they
many.
are not the same thing.
Not at
They're
all.
two very different things, right? And my brain thought they were one thing. And as soon as I was able to separate out, oh, you're an acquaintance. I love hanging out with you. We have a ton of fun, right? Like I meet you at the club, and so I was younger. I used to go out and party more, But we'll meet you at the club. But like, you don't really want to know if I've like something bad going on in my life. Like, you're not going to come pick me up at the airport pre-Uber,
Right.
when that mattered.
Or
right?
you asked how I was and stuck around for the answer.
Or no, it's worse than that. You call me and then the conversation doesn't end with you asking for something.
I see.
Right? An acquaintance will call you and ask for something at the end, and that's okay. You still like them, right?
Sure.
You can have I have acquaintances too, people I thoroughly enjoy, but they're not friends. Soon as I was able to make that distinction, my whole life improved, and it's been better ever since.
So this is a good one to the fourth. I just added this one to the list, and I can't take credit for that. For the first three, I'll take credit for, although the energizing term donated by our friend Darwin. The fourth one, I'm slightly embarrassed to say this, but I got it from Jordan Peterson. So Jordan says, what makes a good friend is you can share good news with your friend and they're not jealous. They're happy for you. And they're not going to go, oh, that reminds me of the time where this better thing happened to me. And then the other one is you can share bad news with a friend. And then they're going to try to support you and help you. And I think that's like a great way to think
He's not
about
wrong.
the strength of your friends.
He's just not wrong. That is, I find that to be very truthful to me. And I'm lucky enough that I have. Because I'm single and because I don't ever plan on getting married and I don't ever plan on dating in the traditional sense, and I don't do relationships. You can't see the air quotes.
He's doing air quotes.
Conventional, right? Traditional type relationships at all, ever. I've never done it. I am able to maintain more stronger long-term friendships. I have the bandwidth. Right? It's a bandwidth issue.
That is a huge part of it. I have a new group of friends that we were all working together over the summer. We've remained very close. It's only been 6 months since. And the reality is that even though some of us are partnered up, nobody has children.
Oh God.
The children will crowd out a lot of things.
Ruins everything.
So let's step back for a moment and talk about the kind of evolution, how you got to where both of you are. So I see some similarities between the two of you, which is obviously you're solo and you're very focused on community, right? So in your bio, Lily, that you sent me, you use this word ensembles, which is I think a fun way to say community, group, team,
Absolutely.
etc. And then obviously this is central to who you are, Josh.
Part of my personal identity at this point. Yeah.
And so what I'm curious about is, my experience too has always been, because I'm more likely to be single than partnered up. I've had some family issues in life. I've always leaned very heavily on a group, and whenever I move to a new place, I work very hard to try to develop and facilitate and build that. So why don't we start with you, Lily? Like, has this been an evolution? Have you always done this? What's
I think
the origin story?
Yeah, right. I'm very family oriented, and I know that from a very young age, if I were ever a part of anything like a school show that went down, right, or like it closed, or the soccer season was over, I would always be depressed. And as I get older now, I look back and I do have a lot of different groups of friends, and I make friends easily, and I'm only now able to say, oh shit, I build communities. So wherever I spend my time, because my love language is quality time. So if I'm spending quality time with you, we are a community. I often have people cross over very easily, and there's a couple times where they don't cross over, and I'm like, oh, you're not actually, I don't know if I want to spend time with you because you don't fit into other pockets in my closet. You know what I mean? Or something. But I got to be honest with you. I don't know if my community comes from a place of me exploring my place in the bigger, grander scheme of things. I love being a part of something bigger. So I think that's faith. I think that's spirituality. I'm just not a conventionally religious or spiritual kind of person. But I stay in the question of, is this my codependency? And I'm okay with that. I think there's a real negative connotation to codependency. I was in a relationship for 10 years. There was a lot of codependency and a lot of growth that happened over those 10 years. And I'm grateful for it. And I'm also grateful I got out of it. And I do appreciate relationship. I would love to be in partnership, but I also am very committed to being on my own right now, and am not interested in sharing my most intimate energy until I'm comfortable knowing where my natural, energy is mine versus what I take on from others. I want to make sure I can define who I am in the positive independently, as opposed to in reflection of everybody around me.
I see. So, I have this phrase that I came up with about being single for now or forever. And so you two encapsulate both of these things, right? So Lily, you're a for now person. For now, and Josh is a forever person.
Yeah, it does sound like that. Josh is currently trying to save his cats, feeling very claustrophobic inside of the house. And we
sorry.
We are, but actually, that helps to set the scene.
Oh, yes.
So we are sitting on Josh's couch in his apartment in downtown LA.
We call them lofts in downtown.
Sorry, the loft in downtown LA, where he hosts his dinner club. So this is a weekly. Monthly?
No, weekly. So starting in the summer, as soon as the weather gets a little bit nicer, because I was lucky enough to buy this in 2010 during the market crash. So I have a beautiful rooftop that I own, and I have seating for 30 up there.
So you do 15 friends and 15 strangers.
That's right.
This is amazing.
It's an excellent way to meet new people. So 15 people sign up online, and then there's a wait list, and then I'll go through the wait list and pick my friends and other interesting people from the wait list. So it's 15 totally random strangers, which is exciting, right? Every time.
Yes.
And then 15 people who have been before, or who look super intriguing. And people fill out a little questionnaire, and I read every single application for Dinner Club and mark people's profiles, but everyone has an equal opportunity to get in.
And then you curate the evening depending on the
So I
interest in
do.
things,
So
or?
I spend several hours doing the seating chart. So everyone is seated based on who I think that they would have super interesting conversations with. I try and separate people from. I always separate couples because they've had the same damn conversations over and over again,
Yep.
and I want them to have a new conversation and then go home and talk about it, what their experience was. I try and sit people together who I think might from different jobs and different.
Don't put all the entertainment people together.
Exactly right. Then they're just going to, chat shop the whole night, right? They can do that during cocktail hour. And yeah, it's super fun for me to do. And I always get such a kick when I see people towards the end of the night exchanging numbers.
Yeah.
And then people hang out. People have gotten jobs. Chefs work together. Like, it's fun to like be that sort of instigator for that.
So now the thing though I have to say is that even just reading and hearing your bio back, you've been very clear on being a community builder.
Oh yeah, for me it's super. My origin story is super easy. I didn't have a single friend until I was 16.
Yeah.
I was bused to schools with kids I didn't like, and I did not. There were no kids in my neighborhood. I was super alone and on my own. I was a latchkey kid, and then junior high school, I discovered there was a like film program. I was in stage crew, and I started to like make friends. I went to Pacoima Junior High School in the hood. I was so happy to be there at a magnet program with thousands of kids, so I could sort of disappear in all of the random wacky kids. And then I got to go to my first Sundance Film Festival. I was like, oh shit! Like when I was 13, this is what I want to do. I'm going to get involved in film. And then the whole process that from 13 to 18 was going to movies with friends, organizing all of my friends into making a movie, hanging out on film sets and all that sort of stuff, which was my first sort of foray into like having friends at all. And then I was the instigator because I so desperately wanted to have friends,
Yeah.
and then that kind of was, I got started real early figuring out how to make friends and build those friendships around things. And then that's an experience. I got a leg up, and then I did more of that in college. And then as soon as I was out of college, it was, just continuous.
See, and that supports my theory, not only my theory, but that supports the theory that friends out of work relationships are usually healthier, longer sustaining than work out of friendships.
I see.
There's something about being able to show up for each other on time, follow through on the task at hand, also speak to what your strengths are, what your interests are, what you're not good at, challenge one another, right? That's essentially, if you talk about the friendships that haven't lasted very long, in even those few descriptions, you could go, yep, that's where we fell apart. Someone just didn't show up for me, or they didn't tell me that they couldn't handle the stories that I needed to tell.
I see. So this, let's finish your origin story because we're missing something from yours, Josh.
What are we missing?
Which is where you decided to put up this Chinese wall between your friends and your penis.
Oh, yes. Excellent.
But is there a glory hole in the wall?
Amazing. But I don't. That's the whole point. I'm not sticking it through the wall.
There's been a few holes.
You're right.
We've taped them up.
You're right. So
wait, hold on. For the listener for a moment, I'm not going to explain what a glory hole is.
Google.
But just be careful Googling it on your work computer.
Oh, yeah. Private mode.
And the other one is, what is a Chinese wall? And so this goes back to, like, for example, like magazines and newspapers have what they call a Chinese wall. I don't even know the origin of it, but it's basically the editorial decisions and the advertising decisions are completely separated
for the integrity
of the
Church versus state.
Yeah, just like the idea is that you it's not going to stop you from writing a bad article about someone who might be buying advertising from you.
Right,
So
exactly.
It's a term. I'll put in the exhibits the origins of Chinese wall.
So,
in any case, but yeah, where did this come from?
Where the hell did this come from? So I mean, when I was growing up, when I was like young, I definitely thought I was going to be married with 2 kids. I had that traditional picket fence idea for myself. And then I started to realize, well, I'm gay, but I really didn't want to be, right? So I was sleeping with girls at like 15, you know, like
At least one of us was.
this girl totally knew I was gay. She was taking advantage of, I mean, like, how can you take advantage of having sex with a 15-year-old dude? But she was 19. She wanted to get work on my film. She was assistant at Barbizon Modeling School.
Oh, man.
I totally gave her work on the film.
Those days are finished.
Yeah. That's wait, I got me too. No. She me too'd me?
No.
I'm not quite
There's
sure.
consent. It sounds like there was consent across
There was
the
total
board.
consent.
Yeah,
This
does not
absolutely.
fall under anything.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. There was super.
Lily, thank you for arbitrating.
Yes,
Absolutely,
Thank you.
yes.
So I did it to be cool, you know, like I wanted my friends to, you know, think I was cool, and I was trying super hard not to be gay. And then I started actually hooking up with dudes in college, and then I discovered the interwebs. And then I was like, oh, this is way better, right? And I never wanted anyone to stay the night, right? I never wanted to build on anything with anyone I was hooking up with, and it was just always like that. And it took till my mid to late 20s, I think, to realize that, oh yeah, it's okay that I don't. My shrink was like, why don't you try it? There's this dude who's really into you. And I was like, he's like, try dating him.
Okay.
And we like dated for 2 weeks. And I was like,
I don't want him to stay over.
Yeah. I didn't want, it was the freaking worst. And I was miserable. I was like, oh yeah, I don't want this type of life.
So this is, I mean,
How long were you with that shrink, by the way?
Years.
Male, female? Do you know
Male.
gay or straight?
Gay.
Okay.
Top level, like shrink to
Jedi.
Yeah,
Jedi
like
level.
he was fantastic. Not one of those, how does that make you feel?
So he wasn't giving you like a mandate to go try to be conventional. He was giving you a challenge
so that I
to
could
go
exactly.
experiment.
So
Got
that
it.
and it was very helpful because afterwards I was like, oh right, I don't want this, and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's okay. You
Yeah,
know?
that's nice.
See?
I think one of the problems with therapy, this is going to come up in a future episode, I know, because I'm going to have a guest who had a realization that a lot of therapists, they bring their own bias to the table.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is a partnered life is a better life. And so everything is seen through that lens. So the interpretations of toughing it out in a relationship or the way you should go about meeting people and so on.
Right.
And if you can have a therapist who's agnostic,
Yep.
right, who has no opinion, who's indifferent,
Yep.
and just realizes there might be a solo path for you, then suddenly his or her advice can change.
That's right.
Even if the advice is, well, give it a whirl to make sure that this is the right path for you.
But
Right.
I would say that that's also the value of one of the values that you're talking about with your friends would be, can you listen to me and not make it about you?
Yes, that's
and
right.
you could be like, one of my best friends is Christian, well, as close to being a Christian as you can. She defines herself in a different way, but I'm not. And we have great conversations about spirituality and religion.
One of my best buds, August, he is a lifelong, Catholic Christian. I always have trouble telling the difference. But one of those.
More guilt.
Yeah,
Catholics have more guilt.
Got it.
That's how to tell the
big
difference.
churches, whichever one has the big churches.
If they look like they'd be painful to fall on, Mormon.
No, but God,
Let's get back to this.
I love Mormons, though. They are so nice and friendly.
Oh.
But I'm very not religious. And we have excellent conversations, and he's an incredible friend. And his faith helps him be a better friend, whereas I'm completely atheist, hardcore atheist.
But
Well,
your
you can make that
values
work.
overlap.
oh, yeah, our values absolutely
Exactly.
overlap.
So you might have received your values because you were taught them in Sunday school.
Mhm.
You might have received your values because you were taught them in grad school while you were getting your doctorate in, psychology or whatever. I don't know where you would have gotten them, right? I got mine from family.
Yeah, I don't know. My family was kind of fucked up. But, my parents were great. Just didn't have an excellent, I don't think, model,
Yeah.
so to speak. They both loved me very much, which I think helps a lot. I don't think they loved each other very much.
Lily, I want to make sure you finish your thought about your friend who's close to Catholic.
Not Catholic. Also doesn't say she's
Close to Christian.
Christian either. That's not how she does it. It's like we don't celebrate. She doesn't celebrate anything pagan. But the the idea that you can still be very close to someone and share your most intimate details, even though the other person would never in a million years condone that behavior for themselves,
Yes, I see.
but be able to help you navigate, right? Whereas Nicole Blaine and I have very similar values.
I see.
And you can show up for each other and be like, well, what do you want me to listen? Do you want me to hold on to this information? Do you want me to give you advice, or do you just need, someone to vent on? And at some point, like how I deal with my therapist is, okay, I'm going to give you the download. If you could reflect back to me what I'm doing well, that'd be great. Sometimes I'm like, I need a new thought pattern. Get me out of this, right? Sort of how when I recently called you and was like, I want your perspective on this.
Well,
I didn't charge Lily for
Good
that.
job.
She can't afford me.
No,
I got to say, I get a lot of value out of having friends who severely disagree with me on most things in my life. I have hardcore conservative Trump friends, and I get a lot of value out of it. I have friends who are very religious. I have friends who are very different than me in almost every way, and we are still lifelong very good friends because we don't judge each other on the things we really disagree with, right? And I can have those conversations with them. They just have to be smart and respectful and genuine, and the things you were talking about,
reliable,
energizing, energetic.
Yes.
You can be all of none of those things that you talked about relate in any way to how we feel about the world around us.
I agree.
At all, yes.
And so I'm happy to have those types of friends. My life is better for having those types of friends, even though we definitely don't see eye to eye on almost everything.
Yeah. I want to tell a quick story, quick therapy story. So this came up in episode 1, which is a solo person should have a team. Right? The idea that you want to have a team, and a therapist is, I think, an integral member of the team. I recognize that for some people is a luxury. Therapy may not.
But a pastor,
who's your money person
your rabbi
again?
For some.
Money Amy.
You didn't put Money Amy's info in the bottom. I need Money Amy's info.
Well, good news. She's going to be an upcoming episode.
Excellent, perfect. I'm very
Yes.
excited.
She's going to get a financial a lot out of this.
She is.
Yeah.
So
A referral code.
if you didn't listen to episode 1, I talked about a financial advisor being part of your team, and a particular type of financial advisor, which is a fee-based financial advisor. You pay them by the hour. You don't pay them a percentage of your wealth.
Yeah.
I have a very strong opinion about that.
I learned my lesson.
There
recently.
you go. So I have this great therapist back in Boulder. He's the poet. I give people nicknames. And one day he was helping me with my relationship with my mom, which was the thing that brought me to him. I was like, I need to try to repair this, improve this relationship. It's making me deeply unhappy. And I remember him giving me a piece of advice about how to deal with something. And I said very somberly, anxious, furrowed brow, well, she's not going to like that. And he said to me, that be that as it may, he said, I'm not here to make your mother happy. I'm here to make you happy. And I started crying.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness, this person has my back 100%.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
Really powerful. It changed our relationship, because I was like, oh, he is my advocate, and so that's, if you get the sense that your therapist is not 100% there to improve your happiness and well-being,
right.
They might not be the best therapist for you.
So I've pitched therapy to lots of friends, and the thing that I always say is, it took me 5 to find the guy who kicked ass for me, who changed my life. It took 5.
You have to date a little bit.
Yes, you do. Absolutely, you do. If you find the best person on number 1, God bless, great job.
Right.
But just when you go see the person,
That's like a high school
give them
sweetheart.
give them a couple times. And move on. You're allowed to say, "Oh no, you're right. You're not right for me."
Totally.
Right? So
You're doing them a favor too.
Right. Exactly. So you're paying. I was paying money. I have a real, when I'm paying someone something, I have a real strong feeling about getting my money's worth.
Yes.
So I was like, we have an hour. You're very expensive. Let's do work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to jump back into this sleeping with strangers thing, because
Sure.
we've been teasing the audience with this stuff. So first of all, I want to say this as a straight man. this is a different world, that you live in with Grindr.
Sure.
I think like it's not like if I were to say, oh, I date friends and I sleep with strangers, I'm not doing much sleeping. In that metaphorical sense.
Sure.
But Grindr is in your world and doing this, your dum-dums that you so affectionately refer to these guys.
That is not a negative term. God bless them for being such lovable, cuddly dum-dums.
So how does this go down?
I mean, I will turn on my phone. I will turn on Grindr. It will start beeping. I will pick out what I want. They will show up. We will hook up. They will leave.
This is like Jetsons.
The whole thing happens within an hour.
By the way, I do this with Postmates and Tender
Grindr is
Greens.
It's
quicker.
Postmates for dick.
Yes.
Yeah.
With better selection.
Postmates.
It is 100%, and it costs no money, right?
But is it okay? Hold on.
It's honest. It's so much more honest than a lot of straight people's dating.
Well, because you're talking about primal connection.
That's right.
And
we say immediately, here's my face. Here's my body and dick pics. What do you want to do? What are you into? Can you come over? Are we doing this now? Like, there's no like exchange of I'm going to buy you dinner as like a pretense to like, well, we both know where this is going. Or I don't know. I see such the drama, the dance that straight people do seems so exhausting.
Okay, so this is in line with what Dan Savage says about. Do you ever listen to his podcast?
I don't. I know I should. Everyone says he's just amazing and the best.
He has helped me navigate language and identifying what I would like and all the things. But what he says really well is that straight people will never have as good of sex as gay people because straight people hear consent and stop talking, even though they have completely opposite body parts. Whereas gay people hear consent and start talking. Well, what do you like? How do you like it? This and that, this and that. And they put words to it.
Yeah.
Even though they're dealing with pretty much the same exact apparatus.
Right. I mean, it does help that we have our own equipment and we know what to do with it.
Sure.
Very helpful. But like also there are certain, I'm for example, exclusively a top.
Okay.
Right. Plenty of people are exclusively bottoms or bi or verse or whatever. Everyone has their positions and preferences. But you have to talk about that with someone right off the bat.
Before arrival.
Yeah. You can't. Two tops don't make a bottom, right? Like that's not going to work. Right?
That's math, guys. For those listening at home, that's math. Two tops don't make a bottom.
They don't. No. So you have to discuss these things in advance.
Yes.
And there's no shame around any of it, right? Like there's so much shame, I think, around. Like, especially, unfortunately, for
sex
women.
in general. That's
sex
not.
In general.
That doesn't. It's not exclusive to one sexuality or the spectrum.
True.
I think that's an all.
I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
And Americans especially.
Yes.
Oh man,
yes.
yeah. We're so repressed. It's ridiculous.
I got a text message from I think, German woman. So my buddy had introduced me to professionally, and she listened to the non-monogamy episode. And she was like, you two sounded like a couple of Americans talking about non-monogamy or ethical non-monogamy. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's what we are. Like in the United States, this is a revolutionary idea. In Berlin, it might be like, yeah, of course. But I think for the average person, Berlin
has the greatest club in the world where it goes from like, Friday until Monday and there's sex and nudity and drugs and whatever the hell you want, right? They're on top of their shit there for sure. I'm jealous.
Well, you're on top of their
Oh,
shit.
yeah. Fair.
So I think that, so I mean, to me, I think that idea of, I think luxury is not the right word, but your ability to date friends and sleep with strangers is in some way enhanced, not only by your sexuality, but then also because of technology.
Sure.
You bet.
And so in part because you can sift through the options and then you can communicate your preferences, exchange the pictures, make sure everything's up to snuff. And then
I would like to push back on the idea though that this lifestyle is only open to homosexuals.
Agreed. And that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, please. I didn't say only open to
Sure.
it.
Easier, no doubt.
No
doubt.
Well, Tinder was the heterosexual response to Grindr, right? Tinder came in after, as far as my awareness of it, for sure.
I didn't know that.
And
I didn't know
if
that
I'm not
either.
mistaken, that is exactly
I know
like,
Grindr tried to do a male female the same company tried to do one for straight people and it failed.
It's only men on there.
It didn't work because women were worried about other women seeing them on this app, which was purely
that's
for sex.
this idea of guilt.
I mean, is that real or did someone say that?
No, I got on and saw it. When it was on, it lasted like 6 months, and then they folded it.
But the idea that the narrative around that...
I remember reading an article about it, so who knows what kind of think piece was, based on data.
If I'm not mistaken, Tinder was founded after. The app, at least, was created after Grindr.
Sure.
And obviously, Tinder is very successful, and I know quite a few men and women who use Tinder in a very similar way.
It's true.
To Grindr. But then...
But I think the key to being really successful, and I've helped friends with this before on those types of dating apps, is to be completely honest and upfront in your profile. You're going to eliminate 90% of the people, but the 10% that you don't eliminate are there exactly for what you want. And now there's Field, right, which is a whole new dating app for couples and threesomes and more, which is very, heterosexual positive. There's lots of things you can choose from, like hetero-flexible, homo-flexible,
this came up
polyamorous, non-monogamous. Field is a fantastic new app that's kind of in between Grindr and Tinder, right? It's really for everybody. It only really works in major cities where there's enough
subcategories of
and
interest,
where there's enough people on it, right?
People who are in that conversation with themselves.
Exactly. But I find Field to actually be one of the most sex positive spaces on an app that I've ever seen. It's really cool. It's fun to see. So
that sounded sarcastic, cool, but I'm genuinely
no. I promise
cool.
it's not sarcastic.
No, I said cool. I went cool. It's like, good for you. No, literally good for you. This is great.
It's pretty cool.
So the reason when we were talking a few weeks ago, I knew that I wanted to have you on here. Besides just this is an interesting way to live your life, is I want to highlight folks like you because in some ways it gives people permission to think differently, right? That you actually started out thinking you were going to get married and have 2 kids.
You bet.
And now you're living a life that's really quite different than that, but no less rewarding and in many ways much more remarkable. And again, some of this is through the hard work that you've done, understanding who you are and what you want, and then some of it comes a little bit from the help of technology. That, this would have been a much harder lifestyle to lead if you were in the, you weren't in a place like Los Angeles and you didn't have mobile phones.
I fully acknowledge that.
So I want to ask both of you. I want to do a little mini lecture here for a moment, and then I want to ask you two a question about developing friends.
Sure.
Okay. Not picking them, but developing them. So you can work on that while I do my talking.
Cool.
So I want to give you two a high compliment, and that is that the philosophy that you have, this sort of solo philosophy of friendship, has actually existed for a long time and was spearheaded by Epicurus, the Greek philosopher. So Epicurus, he was a contemporary of Plato, but was much different. He was much more inclusive. So while other philosophy schools were really exclusive, Epicurus would take anyone who wanted to study and learn, like, the poor, prostitutes, and so on. Well ahead of his time, as you might imagine.
You have me.
Me too. I'm in.
And so Epicurus...
Let's be Epicurean.
Exactly. So we know of Epicurean in terms of things that are sort of delicious and delightful and food.
That food magazine,
so on.
right?
Yes.
Or Epicurus.
But
right?
That doesn't really give Epicurus his due. So while Greek philosophers were really interested in answering the question of what is a good life, okay, what makes a good life, Epicurus was interested in what makes a happy life, what makes a pleasurable life. And he attacked the assumptions of the day, and these are assumptions that exist still today. So the first one is, he looked around and he looked at partnerships, and he saw not just the love and connection that exists in partnership, but the jealousy, the envy, the cheating, the misery that can happen within partnership. And he concluded that a partnership is not the path to a happy life, but rather friendship is the path to. Friendships rarely have jealousy, as we've already talked about. They rarely have, good friendships.
Good friendships.
Yeah, sure,
right?
sure.
Good friendships, as we were saying, real friendships, and that they're often uplifting and so on. And so he said, away from partnerships into friendships. The other stuff he said, which is less relevant to what we're discussing today, is people work hard to earn money, and what he essentially says is the better work is work to improve the world. So to work hard to improve the world is uplifting, is pleasurable, is good. Working hard to earn money is a grind. And then the other one is that we're too, this is Greek philosophers talking. We're too obsessed and interested in luxury. And we're not interested in having a calm mind. And so if you think about it, these are still issues that we're tussling
Relevant.
with today, where like, you know, people are talking about meditation and the value of meditation, how difficult it is as a path to living, you know, a more enjoyable, pleasurable life. And so the reason I bring this up is the notion of living a happy life, if it rests from an Epicurean standpoint on the shoulders of friends and of community. You are two people that I see as building community. So Josh, your story is very clear in this way. And so Lily, I've seen it in just a small dose. So I got invited to a holiday party that Lily was hosting. And she made her homemade ice cream at it. And
Which I'm excited to try some of.
Oh, yes. Let's do that.
I do love ice cream.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It was a delightful affair, and really wonderful people. And then she did something that I thought was really, really, really neat, which was one of her friends is in a improv group called
The Resistance.
The Resistance, which they improvise a action movie
Fun.
based upon an audience suggestion. So Lily, at some point, shut the party down, gathered people up, and we drove to UCB to Upright Citizens Brigade to see The Resistance.
And you guys didn't know you were going to do it.
It was sort of like a reveal that happened about 24 hours ahead
That's
of
right.
time.
Got it. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
that's right.
Bold.
If you're still here at 8
Bold move,
o'clock,
I like
we're
it.
getting into cabs, Ubers, Lyfts.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And it was just a great, like a very thoughtful party in terms of, you know, food and drink and introducing people. Like Lily was hustling. She was hustling so much that
I appreciate the amount of work.
It's so, right?
then I suggested that we hire a bartender for her
Yeah,
next.
it was very appreciated.
for her
Because you
next
know how
trip.
people show up and they're like, what can I bring? And you're like, first of all, you're an adult. Just figure out what you want to bring.
Right, of
Also,
course.
if you're going to bring something, bring it having been made. Don't make your shit in my house
so true.
after I cleaned
So true.
and taking things out of the oven while you're now dripping all of your
I'm with
things.
Do you want to
on-
name that person?
There was not one person. I was surprised.
Well, so I realized that I now with Dinner Club and with all of my events, I do multiple emails, progressively giving more information. And my emails are also very clear now about flaking. My Dinner Club email, the one you get on Monday before the Wednesday dinner, said this is your last chance to cancel. If you flake, you can never return to a dinner club.
You know, it's so interesting. So we're going to get back to my question about developing friends.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I do this thing called the Dilemma Dinner. It's a new thing. As I said, Lily was part of it. So this is a very small, intimate 6-person gathering where we spend a Sunday evening working through puzzles, problems that professional or personal that each person has.
Love it.
And a lot of bonding.
So much bonding.
It was great. I have a line, which is, if you miss any of my deadlines, you're out.
Great.
You're uninvited.
It's important.
Yeah.
And because like this is a privilege. I've got a
Totally.
long. You have a
400 to 700 people on the wait list. The chef is cooking 30 dinners, whether there's an empty seat or not.
Right.
How unforgivable is it
Correct.
for there to be 3 empty seats
Yeah.
where there's hundreds of people waiting to fill that seat?
That's
like
correct.
I can't ever let you
Yes.
come back.
Yep.
so okay. So let's get back to this idea of
Thank you
we
for
know-
valuing your time, you guys, on this planet that led you to be the wonderful
It's the
humans
chefs
that
I'm
you
more
are.
offended for,
No,
you
but
know?
you know what I mean? Like you're valuing this opportunity. You're valuing the chance to share time and space with you. It's not coming from arrogance. It's coming from, I value this.
It's for the greater good.
It
Yeah.
really is.
It's for the greater
100%.
good. So
and if you tell people, they don't do it. True, right? Like ever since I started being really firm on this, people stopped flaking.
That's great.
So
we've sort of talked about this idea of obviously the importance of community and how much it can add value to your life, and it can fuel you as an alternative to a traditional partnership.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of developing, I mean, this happens to me where I go, I want Lily to be my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I want Steven to be my friend. Like I make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a probationary period and so on.
Sure.
How do you do it? Who wants to go first?
I do.
Okay.
Consistency and reciprocity.
Go on.
You've got to give of yourself and have confidence that reciprocity will return in some unknowable way, because it always does. So easy. And consistency, right? So I just assume that I will always be the one reaching out to everyone, and I don't have any resentment towards that. It's my role, right? And it's the thing that I can do that I have no problem with, that helps keep my friendships stable and consistent and long-term and long-lasting. I'm the one who sends out the text every Thursday or Friday morning to everybody, reminding them about bro drinks. I'm the one who sends out the email saying we're going to do dim sum in Alhambra on Sunday to all the people who wants to come, and then follow up with everyone, right? Like, you have to be consistent about reaching out to the people that you find valuable, and you have to be consistent about always having things that you do regularly that people can stop thinking about and just fall into the habit of being involved in.
I see.
Right. And that makes it so much easier for people to build and develop friendships with you. And I have lists. I have lists of friends. And I just go down the list and I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to that person in a while. I'm a text message guy. So I have no problem doing conversations over text message. I know a lot of people really prefer phone calls or prefer in person. I prefer...
Of our generation.
Yeah. I prefer text messages and then in person. I want to text you for a bit, catch up with you, and then at the end of that text conversation with a scheduled appointment.
I see.
Right. So, and I don't drive, so I have no problem Ubering to you or sending a car for you. That's my favorite new thing to do. I will send a car for you.
It's such a baller move.
Yeah,
it's
it really
so
is.
cheap. It seems like a baller move. It costs an Uber X, right? Like, but it sure.
It's hard to say no.
It's hard to
I'm
say.
sending
Someone
you a
offered
car.
that, and I was like,
right? There's no flaking when the car arrives, right?
No, exactly.
That's right.
So yeah, it's I really believe consistency and reciprocity really help develop good friendships.
That's great. How about you, Lily?
I know I lead with honesty and authenticity with myself, so I'm not holding shit back. And acquaintances and friends get that.
Agreed.
So I know that I can show up. What I'm now getting better at is sitting back and witnessing how you want to show up.
Okay.
And going with my gut on that, because I'm a very good people reader, behavior reader, and I haven't given myself enough credit for that. And it got me into trouble even most recently. So here I was thinking that I had a couple really great people in my life, including a boyfriend, only to find out, oh no.
See, now I have to say I fuck up like every once in a while, and I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah.
You have to, for me, the first big time it happened, someone stole my camera from Dinner Club early on, and I stopped doing Dinner Club.
This came up when we first met.
Yeah,
Holy
and
shit.
I was like, I stopped doing Dinner Club, and I was really mad and upset, and I felt violated and robbed, and I was like, would I pay $3,500 to get Dinner Club back? And the answer was totally yes. And so I just try and be better about, like, I know I'm going to get screwed. You can't let 15 strangers into your life. And then, every once in a while, I make a mistake.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And that's okay. I just acknowledge that I can't be an open person. All of the great friends I've made were from letting my guard down and being open and being honest and trying to build those relationships. I can't get all of those awesome relationships without getting fucked every once in a while.
That's fair.
And so when that happens, happens. I just try and limit it. Fewer and farther in between getting fucked, you know?
And it's just like you're getting your 10,000 hours, right?
Totally.
And like you get your reps in, getting to know people, making friends, and then getting your heart broken and recovering and moving on. And how deep the heartbreak is not necessarily within your control.
My recovery time's way better now because I just acknowledge it's a part of all the good. I can't get rid of that part.
But like heartbreak when you fall in love with a person who is your friend, you have an amazing sexual connection with, who's also like a dear friend that you're like adventure buddies with, and then your lives intertwine, and then you're best from college. You yenta to be the roommate's new thing, and now you're the quad squad, and you like hanging out all the time, only to find out that he's been talking shit about you to the girl you used to fuck, who's been a total asshole to you, to your face, behind your back, right? Is like undermining
making all
you.
this up right now?
No, this all just this happened, right? You're like, oh yeah, I'm just off the cuff, right? So that's a chasm. That's a heartbreak.
That's heartbreak.
That's really rough.
That's where like the recovery from that has been a little bit rougher,
for sure.
And also, what a beautiful opportunity to witness as I come up what layers of my own accountability and who I do and don't want to spend time with, and my bandwidth hasn't been as big to carry as many people in my life as it used to be. But now I'm like,
I troll people sometimes.
You do?
I do. I will troll new friends with outrageous statements. Sometimes, usually around politics, especially because I love politics. I work in politics, right? But I consider myself a liberal, but I love challenging liberals on like these ideas that they're married to and how they actually affect the world and how privileged that like idea really is, you know, because they're so married to these ideas, you know, and I'll troll them sometimes and just like watch their heads explode.
In real life.
I have so much respect for the ones that are like realize they're being trolled and or have excellent comebacks to me and or are bold enough to tell me to go fuck myself.
Yeah, you're jousting.
I'm jousting.
But you're doing it in person.
The one thing I don't want them to do is to agree with me when I know they don't believe it.
Yes.
I'm looking for you to push back, right? Not to just like yes me when I'm saying something fucking outrageous, you know? Like fight with me a little bit. Call me on my bullshit.
But I just want to make clear, when you say troll, you're meaning you're in person, not
in person.
Okay.
There's no way to like read someone's face or you can
text
only,
message you can't do this stuff.
only in person.
Yeah.
This is
You know, I think listening to you two talk is interesting. You know, there's all these like dating advice columns and dating shows and all this stuff, but you know, there isn't anything like a friendship advice column or a friendship advice. You know, like
totally.
We hold these sort of relationships up to this very high standard as like this sort of such an important thing, you know, albeit a very difficult thing, and yet a lot of our happiness rests on the shoulder of our friends.
Yeah.
You know, and I sometimes joke is like someone meets someone, they kind of disappear for a while, you know, which may happen, you know,
this is
you're
where my
infatuated
sadness
for someone.
comes from.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I have my first roommate here was an incredibly good friend. He's the one who started dinner club with me. We cooked every week for 52 weeks in a row.
Oh my gosh.
He lived here with me for 2 years, and then he moved next door to a building next door, and he met a girl. And then he was friends with all of us, all of the initial crew that we met and were cooking together. And we now talk about him as though he died. We say, Danny, rest in peace.
Oh, that's sad.
And we miss him, but his girlfriend, now wife, none of us were invited to the wedding, didn't want him to hang out with us, and he felt that was acceptable. And I know that like one of my really, really great friends that I've been friends with for a very long time, he works downtown. He lives in K-Town. He is recently acquired a fuck trophy. Baby.
Got it.
So he's
hold
buying a
for
house.
laughter. That is brilliant.
I've never heard that term before.
Fuck trophy. That's what you get, right? That's the trophy.
It does seem like a lot of people like to yield that thing
They do. They
around.
hold it around. They're like, look
Is it
what I
wheeled or
did.
yield?
You never knew love until
No.
you had one of these things.
Oh God,
blah,
you
blah,
don't
blah.
even know.
Yeah, you don't even
it's
know.
so hard. Yeah, I know it's hard. I've been in
Yeah.
public before. That looks awful.
Awful.
Oh my God.
But now I know that he's going to be moving to the Valley, and I won't see
course
him
he
a lot.
is.
And it makes me very sad. I know that like my friendships, a lot of them have, no matter how hard I work, they have an expiration date.
Oh, you know, so I'd say perhaps, right? So some friends, I think, look, you know,
Or you
middle
pull the
age is
stack.
hard,
They go
right?
away.
So
You
middle
bet.
age is hard. So building your career, being married, having one or more children, and all those things is hard.
You bet.
And so some people make sacrifices. They just have to jettison the friends. Others don't, and it just takes a little bit more planning and a little bit more work, I think sometimes. But it's sad when that happens.
I told one of my best friends, Greg, he understood that this was something that was going to be really hard for me.
Yes, I see.
And he met the love of his life, this incredible girl, Paige. They're going to get married next year. He is so conscious of our friendship that like I have no worry that I'm going to lose him. I mean, again, it
changes things.
It does, but
Sure.
and of course it will change, and he's going to have beautiful children, and I'm really genuinely happy for him. But I don't have any worry with him because he was conscious of this like fear that I have.
Yeah. He sat down to have the conversation with you.
Legit.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good friend.
like you're not going to lose me. I'm going to be your bro. Like
that's
we're
funny.
brothers.
But you say the sadness, right? The sadness that you felt. The sadness that you felt. Was I not? It wasn't there.
Oh,
God, I totally okay. So the sadness that you felt, right? And then you earlier talked about jealousy, and I mean, maybe we're using the wrong word to say jealousy, but like I had one of my best friends was living in New York, and anytime he'd come out to LA, I'm like, well, yeah, you make time to see me, and then at some point that was an inconvenience for him, to which is an indicator that we're no longer the kind of friends that. Right. It's not the reciprocity.
The reliability thing.
Sure.
The reliability, but it's not
hurt.
reciprocity. We are not in the same space of each other's lives.
But it's okay. In your life, some people will move from acquaintances to friends, and some people will move from friends to acquaintances, and that's okay too.
Yes.
Right. The thing about that, like I had to understand, that's actually really cool, is that I have had some incredible long-term friendships that are now more like acquaintances, and it doesn't devalue any of the amazing times we had together, right?
Yeah.
Like the incredible times we had for 10 years from like 20 to 30, we're never going to have again. We're not that type of friend anymore. Our lives evolved in different directions, but it doesn't devalue how close we were. That will always be something that we shared together. We were close. We were really great, amazing friends. Maybe we can reminisce on that. Maybe we're not those friends anymore, but it's just as important and it's just as valuable to have those types of friendships too, even if they aren't forever.
So I want to do a few things. So we're going to wrap momentarily. We're going to come back. We're going to have what I expect to be a spirited conversation about how you two approach Valentine's Day. So for the listener,
trash holiday.
For the listener who's curious about that, if you want to stick around, we'll get to that. I want to do a quick update. So this will be episode 7 or 8. So we're taping this with 5 out, 6 just launched today, the day we're actually taping this. I want to do a little update on some of the response that I've gotten.
Oh, cool. Exciting. Okay.
So first of all, I admittedly had launched this. This has been my secret project for more than a year. It's completely different than anything I've done. It certainly is something that I'm getting more comfortable with the idea of having put it out there in the world. I feel a bit of vulnerability. I'm trying to be more vulnerable.
Well done.
And so getting a positive response. I didn't know what kind of response I would get. I've gotten largely a positive response. So first of all, compared to my other podcasts, people are going crazy over this one. Like the other one is just like throwing words into the ocean. But this one, people are like really leaning into, and I've gotten a variety of different messages. So here are the 3 messages mostly that I've gotten. So the first one is something along the lines of, "Oh my God, thank you so much. This totally speaks to me."
Totally. I felt that way.
I love that. Yeah.
And I had someone actually say, "I'm crying."
I think I might have been that person.
That you were that person.
Yeah, I cry. I cry at everything.
I'm crying listening to this.
Yes.
I'm just like, wow. So, of course, it's easy to be like, oh, maybe this is just me and maybe I'm just a little too, I'm just too different and so on.
I felt very alone. Like in my whole life, feeling this way and knowing that I was never going to be in a relationship or a traditional type person that way. And so I'm super happy that there's stuff like this out there.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to really, and frankly, you are living a really far out life compared to the average person.
Sure.
And I wanted to put that out there as being like, look at the menu of options that you have in this world.
Yeah.
So the second one is, Pete, this could be big. Right? This is going to be big.
That's what she said.
That's what he said.
So that who knows? You know what I mean? Like, I'm good at making things. I'm terrible at promoting things.
Cool.
But the idea, like, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but I feel like the world is ripe for this kind of message.
Well, you had said that you were going to help build a community around this, and I'm excited for the launch of like a website or however you do that, whether it's a Facebook group or whatever you decide. I'm excited to like meet and bond with all of those solo people who are going through their own different experiences and how we can support each other. That's going to be a really cool part of this.
Yeah, and I'm taking my time with that because I want to try to build.
Totally.
Yeah, I want to echo that because I'm like looking forward to the huge meetup. We're going to take something over.
I think that would be really fun to do.
I agree.
And I think there should be a place for people to be able to talk about these things.
Yeah.
There is, I will tell you this, there is one resource that is currently available. It's not mine. It's largely spearheaded by Bella DePaulo, who was my second guest.
Wait, she's a scientist?
She's a scientist.
Oh, I loved her.
She has there's a Facebook group called the Community of Single People. And it's
right, she talked about that.
And it's very clearly, this is not for dating.
No, which I love.
Yes.
That's not, there's plenty of that crap out there.
You can do tons of that stuff. And I'll put that in the exhibits.
Cool.
The last one is, and this one is really funny, I think. I've gotten not a lot of this. This has been the smallest of them, is love the show. I'm listening to it, but I have to hide it from my wife. Or I was listening to it in front of my boyfriend, and it made me, I felt really bad because it made me want to break up with him.
No, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can put it on anybody you're traveling with. And people don't realize that you're not going to be a good partner if you're not a good person.
Yeah, of course.
I know. I just got a kick out of that idea.
Have you gotten any
shame.
legit negative comments?
No, have you?
From church people or something?
No, I haven't. And I think some
Look
of it
at
is
you totally assuming that it would be coming from church people.
No, because
I'm totally biased. I was that's what it was. You're promoting single life.
Well, Bella talks about that in episode 2.
Yeah.
She's surprised that churches don't lean into single people more, that they're very family focused.
Well, I found fascinating the stat that she gave about how most volunteer work was actually done by single people.
Yes.
Except where it was within a church context.
Yes.
That's right.
So it's like,
You have a good memory.
Yeah.
It's good content.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, hey.
So that's I think this is a good it's a good update. I ask listeners, please rate, please review, especially on iTunes. That's the number one place where people consume podcasts. I'm trying to make new and noteworthy. I feel like my worry is this idea is buried in a sea of podcasts. And so getting the word out, I think, will be good for this and be good for people like us.
Yeah.
I'm going to experiment with a new thing today. I did not prepare either of you for this.
I'm excited.
I've solicited some questions from listeners.
Yes.
Cool.
I love it.
So the first one is from Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
Steve writes, I'm an unmarried man and currently don't have a partner. I've been invited to a good friend's co-ed baby shower.
Ugh.
I have something else that I would rather do that day. What do I do?
Okay, so as a lady who currently has a vagina and all of her healthy organs intact, the expectation that I'm a baby person. Oh, and I also work often as a mom as an actor. I am not a mom.
We play one on TV.
I play one on TV.
Yeah, that's right.
The expectation that I'm interested in your babies is it's rich, and it's not true. When someone tells me they're pregnant, I first go, is that did you want that? Is that good?
Right.
Can I interject for a second? I teach a marketing management course to MBAs, and I talk about positioning and how you can't assume just based upon someone's age, gender, income. You can't make assumptions about what they value and what they care about. And the example that I use is pregnancy tests. If you go to the pregnancy test aisle, wherever that is, the sexual health aisle in a pharmacy, there are 2 different types of pregnancy tests. They do exactly the same thing, they're highly reliable and fast, which everybody cares about. There's a pregnancy test for people who want to be pregnant.
That's
and there's
amazing.
a pregnancy test for people who don't want to be pregnant.
Wow.
Because of course.
Does the packaging,
The packaging, the color, the happy babies on one.
Does
Yeah,
one
yeah.
cost more than the other?
That I don't know.
Oh, we got to do a search.
Because I bet you the one that doesn't want to be pregnant is
Costs
willing
more.
to pay for faster results, even though the
that's-
results are all the same.
Yeah, in like 30 seconds versus 2
Yeah, yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
to circle back,
that
I
assumption.
personally have my own journey. And so I'm not immediately excited for people when they're pregnant. I wait to hear what you're excited about.
I see.
And so in that space, as showing up as a good friend who does not make it about her, I'm okay navigating conversations to see where is it that you want the support. Do you want it right now at the baby shower where you're going to want the people that you love to show up as your community and make eye contact and let you know I'm here for you, I love you, I've got 2 hours with you, and then I'm off to my next thing? Or are you going to need help making sure that you're fed once the baby comes out?
That's interesting.
There's different ways to show up for people who do have babies. So depending on your relationship, you got to find out, is this the time where it would help to be a part of the community? And also, if you're interested in meeting people, I would suggest hanging out with your married friends and or your partnered coupled friends. So it might be a chance to meet a single lady at this co-ed baby shower.
Okay, so what I hear you saying, Josh wants to jump in. So what I hear you saying is, this is a negotiation,
Yeah.
right? So this is like, all right. So Steve should say to his friend, how important is it for me to be there for you?
I think Steve should ask himself, does he know that? Because I don't know how close he is with this woman.
I don't either. It's a good friend.
I wish
You
we
said
knew
good
if the
friend.
friend was a male or a female.
It's a
That's
male
true.
friend.
It's a
male
male
great,
friend.
great,
Even
great.
better. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's helpful also because I think there's an isolation that happens. Is the male friend the first of his community to get into the baby world, and now we're saying goodbye for a little bit? There's just some marker in this man's life.
It's a ritual. It's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
see
even
that.
just to show up, give a high five, and go home, go to your next thing. I think it might be worth it for him to negotiate within himself and go with your gut. Where's your friend feeling about
that's
this?
interesting.
So it also depends on what's happening. Co-ed. So my old roommate Michael just threw a baby rager. Is a co-ed baby shower with no gifts, no games, all booze.
Yes.
And I went.
Yes, you did.
Of course you went.
Because they framed it that way.
Correct.
see.
That's
Whereas
exactly.
my buddy Scotty, I love him to death, when he said before we met for bro drinks on Friday, and he goes, I have some really terrible news. And I said, Jesse's pregnant? And he goes, yes. Because for him, it's great news,
Right,
obviously.
right.
Yeah, but for you.
For me, it's
Yeah, I
terrible
see.
news
Yeah.
because he knows me, right? I'm still going to go to his whatever baby nonsense they do because I love him. You know what I mean? I think that the answer to this is actually pretty simple. If you really love this person, you go.
Okay.
And you make sure they know how much you hate it.
Give them a whole bunch of baby shit with like a Groucho Marx mustache on the kid's face.
I mean, they should just be fully aware that you're there because you love them,
Yeah.
not because you want to be.
That's right.
Of course, you don't rub it in. You don't want it to be uncomfortable or anything.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing. It's like, I don't want to go. I have something much better to be doing. I really love you,
So,
and I will totally be there.
I want to offer something that splits the difference with both of you. So both of you basically say go.
He says it's a really, really good friend, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
didn't.
It's a
He
good
wasn't.
friend.
He also didn't say whether he has like $400 tickets to Book of Mormon or something.
Correct,
It's not like he didn't say what the other thing
That's
is. I'm
true.
assuming the other thing is missable.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Or
true.
can
It's
you
just
do
something he
both?
would rather do.
Yeah,
So to
would
me,
rather
I
do
feel
almost
like
anything else.
building on this idea of what makes a good friend, and your idea, Lily, about honesty, is there anything wrong with Steve saying to his good friend, "Hey, man, I'm happy if you're happy, but I'm really not interested in going to this baby shower. But if it's important to you, I will be there for you.
100%.
If it's not important for you, let's get together in some other way to celebrate this."
Yes,
in a
that
way
is
that
the
we'll both
correct
be happy.
answer.
That's fair.
I think that's absolutely 100%.
And if they truly have a good, I mean, I think about my best friends, what they'll say is, dude, I need you there. Like, this is going to be horrible. And I just
You show
really
up.
want you there. Or
Yeah.
he goes, man, if I were you, I would not come to this
Right?
thing.
Yes.
And let's go do X another time.
Right.
And I feel like a strong friendship can weather the fact that you
Yeah.
like,
Of course.
I'm not interested
Yeah.
in really
Of course.
going, but I'll be there if you need me to be there. And I'm also not going to show up grumpy and right, like
No. Once you've arrived,
You are
you've got to
there.
be in it.
That's
Otherwise,
yeah.
why go at
You
all?
gotta buy in. Don't do
yeah,
that.
for
Yeah.
sure. I think the doctor has the correct answer here.
I think so too. I think so too.
Ooh, I wasn't
also
even going
think
to
he
try to
found
answer
it.
this one.
I also think he found it because we spoke for
Yeah,
I did.
Definitely
do you know what I mean?
are doing.
my
for sure.
actually my first reaction was, dude, just don't go.
Yeah.
No, this isn't a doctor's
There's a
answer
place
is
for you to
correct.
both show up as your higher selves.
Correct.
And you know what's interesting is your friendship could be better for
Absolutely.
you not coming.
Yep.
Or better for you coming, depending on which one it is. All right, this one is actually related to a theme here. This is just through happenstance. Jane writes, I'm interested in fostering more of a community and not rely on my dating life for things to do and people to spend time with. What tips do you have for me about how to create more community in my life? So this might be a bit more of a recap, but for Jane, what would you
Pick something you really love doing. Set a time every single week if you can do it, and every other week if you can't do every week, and do it every week, even if it's with you and one person or you and 10 people. The consistency of every Monday, Jane does X. Whatever it is. Every Monday, Jane goes to pottery. Every Monday, Jane does dim sum. Every Monday, every Sunday,
Tuesday
whatever
softball.
day of whatever
Yeah.
it is.
That's right, yeah.
Pick something you love and do it with at least one other person, and invite then you always know when you're out, I do this on this day. Invite people you think might be interesting. You'll meet people at that thing that you
Yes.
find interesting. But do one thing, pick one thing, and do it every single week at exactly the same time and day, or every other week at the very minimum. Once a month doesn't count.
I
It has
see.
to be every week or every other week. And even if only one person shows up, some days 20 people will show up, right? That's how you build that consistent community. It's the easiest, simplest way to get started on that. I highly recommend you
That's
do
a
that.
strong answer.
I 100% agree. I'm a huge group activity person, so if you can just sign up for the adult softball league, sign up for whatever that yoga retreat is, whatever that shared activity, if you're looking to meet people who share your interests.
But I'm also okay with you doing something yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like instead of signing up for a group, which is totally okay, and I fully support, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the easier route sometimes too.
Not everyone has.
The organizational skills.
It's
And
a
that's-
good way to stretch yourself.
Sure.
But if you're if you just moved, so I'm going to relocate to Minneapolis for a couple months, and I'm already looking at what's a meetup around that,
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
or like yes, I have some family up there, but also like what else would I be interested
but also
in?
just it's just being at the same bar
Yes.
every Friday.
well, think about like
from
every
5 to 8.
Yep.
Even if you're there with one person or you're there with 20 people, eventually people know that's what I can do on Friday between 5 and 8.
hashtag trivia night.
But or trivia night, or
Right,
and
yeah.
I also don't want to make people think that drinking has to be involved.
Yes.
right. So that's not what I'm encouraging. I'm using bar as,
But
an
that's a
example of
coffee
something
shop.
Easy. It can be a coffee shop.
Yeah.
It can be
It could be a writing group. it could be-
anything.
I agree.
Right. Uh-huh.
I do want to give an added tip to this, which is name it well. Naming things is important,
You are right.
right? So bro drinks
Bro drinks.
sounds more appealing, and you're like, I got to find out what bro drinks is.
Yeah. Can I also offer
Yes, please.
another would be finding a
Dim sum
nonprofit.
Sundays.
There you go. A nonprofit, someplace to
Yes.
volunteer.
Uh-huh.
I think that also gets you into community and service of others.
I see.
It gets you out of whatever your shit is. If
Every
you
time
have
I've
a
been
skill,
depressed, I've gotten out of depression. I think it was James Altucher, maybe his book. And I got out of it by just calling people up and being like, "What's going on in your life? What do you need? I got lots of skills. Like,
See, but
let
you're
me just
talking
help
about
you."
have people to call.
Sure,
so like
sure.
on the other end of the spectrum, if you were like, I'm new to this town, I don't have connections to humans
Yeah.
necessarily. Just I go to work, I work in a cubicle, or I work from home, which is like what so many people do. How do you find your community. And what I wanted to say a minute ago was like, look at any rom-com in the 80s and 90s. There's always someone like leaving their apartment, throwing a coin to the newspaper, to the newsstand, grabbing the thing, grabbing their coffee. Exactly, right? Like that's consistency. That's exactly what we're talking about. And of course, that's now,
but I think the key is don't get discouraged if like you do it for a month every single week and you're there with one person, right? Consistency allows growth. It happens naturally and inevitably.
I think I have a saying, anything worth doing is going to be difficult. And so one of the things that I think, I recognize that not everyone is a natural organizer.
Sure.
But stretching yourself and working to organize is one of the best ways to create something, a community for yourself. And I like the idea that you're like, okay, I have this thing. I've named it well. It's something that's going to bring me joy. Now I have to populate it. And it changes your orientation in life. For example, as I was saying earlier, you're at a coffee shop and you're on the lookout for someone cute. But when you have a community event, now you're on the lookout for someone interesting.
Right.
And you're now speaking to the thing that I always talk about when coaching or teaching young performing artists is you've got a light inside and it is up to you to make sure that you are fueling it and you want to share that with the world. But that's not going to come when you're in your own space, when you're like, I'm looking for my number one. I'm looking, right? When you're pursuing something as opposed to just showing up and being curious, show up as your authentic self. As a single person,
though, I got to tell you, one of my least favorite things is, you'll find it as soon as you're not looking for it.
No, that's bullshit. No.
There's so many times I just want to slap a bitch.
Because you also have to be open.
Sure.
Right? There's an open energy, but your energy is usually open. Like I love singing, and yet I'm terrified of doing it in public. So when I joined an adult choir, I had a lot more friends, yourself, right? Yes. Totally. But beginner mind, it helps you look at the world differently when you're doing something that you're not very good at, especially when you're now middle-aged and you're like used to being good at some things that you do for a living or consistently.
This is Jane, right?
Jane
can rely on the fact that she is not alone and everyone else out there feels exactly the same way she does. So finding people is actually really easy because everyone wants to be found.
Jane, I'm sending you a high five right now. You got this.
That's fantastic.
You're going to do great.
Well, thank you, Steve and Jane and Josh and Lily for your participation.
This was super fun.
This was super fun.
Thanks, you guys.
We are going to return momentarily and talk about what we do on Valentine's Day. So thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back momentarily. Thank you both.
For sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back for a little bonus material.
Very exciting.
Hi, we're back.
Josh made us old fashions.
Gonna just lube us up a little bit for Valentine's Day.
My old fashioned feels very fresh in my mouth.
It's great. Delicious. I use some good whiskey.
Old by name only.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we this is launching right around Valentine's Day, and so we'll spend about 15 minutes or so just talking. Maybe it'll be 5. It won't be more than 16 minutes.
Great.
Okay.
What do you two do as solos? What do you do on Valentine's Day?
Mostly feel bad for people who are coupled up. Because the pressure.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
so
the pressure.
And I've been a coupled up.
Yes.
I've been a coupled up before, and it was fun. Like the last one I was coupled up for, we had a dinner and then went and fucked our brains out. That was great. But the reality is...
That's what you should do on Valentine's Day.
That's what you could do.
That's what you should do on any Wednesday night,
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
It's true.
And always fuck first. So you can eat all the food so that you're not...
That's a Dan Savage thing.
That's totally Dan Savage thing.
Well, I agree with it.
It's also anybody who's ever dealt with... anybody who's dealt with bloating or IBS, come on, you guys. You know you're going to fuck so much better on an empty stomach.
You know what? If you had told me that this is the turn that this little bonus material was going to take,
more like boner material.
When I'm going to have to say something on that. Everyone thinks I get laid after dinner club, and I have never gotten laid after dinner club.
Are you exhausted after dinner club?
I'm exhausted.
Exhausted and
I'm
cleaning.
full.
And full.
And the place is a mess, and the chefs are like hanging out finally, and we're chatting and cleaning up, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, dinner club's so good for getting." I'm like, "No, never. I've never gotten laid after dinner club. That is come to a dinner club."
Maybe you've had like a dinner club of just oysters.
Ooh,
So
now you're talking
solo. That's
Sunday
a myopic.
fun day.
You know what?
Myopic
I'm afraid
dinner
these
club.
old fashions are kicking in.
Oh no,
Not at
so back
all.
to Valentine's Day.
Oh,
back
we'll
to
keep
Valentine's
talking.
Day.
Listen, I got to lead with something. I'm very lucky. My birthday is August 14th, which is exactly 6 months before and or after, depending on your perspective,
Yes, right.
of Valentine's Day. So what I got into the habit of doing was sending Valentine's Day cards to people I love, letting them know they have 6 months before they need to get me a gift.
You celebrate
Really
a half birthday?
Send Valentine's Day cards?
I have done that before. Like my dad and my brother laughed hysterically when they were like, "Oh shit, you just sent us a warning." And by the way, I'm not a gift person. Like I don't, if you see something that reminds you of me, I would love to receive it. I'll receive love however you want to give it to me. But it's really fun in a comedic sense to subscribe to the notion of gifts. And I'm very also lucky because my family totally disbanded with holidays on the actual days. So I don't have to subscribe to Father's Day on Father's Day or birthdays on birthdays.
Yeah, but most people can't get away from Valentine's Day because it's being pressed at you all the time, nonstop. I mean, as a solo person, I feel lucky that I do not have to like buy the roses and plan the overpriced dinner to the restaurant you can't get into.
Yes.
And, buy the gifts. And I mean...
And the service is awful because nobody wants to be there.
Yeah.
You're not getting a double pay as opposed to Christmas or New Year's.
Yeah. So,
right?
I mean, solo people, like I felt it in the past where I'm like, aw, like I'm alone tonight.
Yeah.
Right. But like, as I've gotten older, that has definitely changed from aw into thank the freaking Lord.
Yeah.
Like, I do not have to deal with this as I watch all my friends hustle.
And stress the fuck out. I have a girlfriend from high school. I remember coming to school the next day going, my dad is a baller. My dad sent my mom a dozen daisies and 1 rose and said, in a world full of daisies, you're my rose. And I was like, boom, Dad, that's amazing.
It's a pretty baller move.
Right?
But so what do you do as a solo person? Like, what are you doing on your half birthday, girl?
Yeah, right. I'm doing whatever is around at that time that sounds interesting. It's literally just.
Are you doing any of these like now that it's like anti-Valentine's Day,
like
and
the
they have all these,
Galentine's Day and
yeah,
the
and they have all the like
Palentine's Day.
solo parties, and like I almost want to do that even less. I feel like that's like almost like
I find myself
trying too
opening my
hard.
arms to the people who are upset about not being coupled up and going, well, I'm ready to just hang out if you want to hang out, and we'll like have a fun night and do something else. But I'm not coming from a place of feeling lack, because if there's someone coming to me wanting to connect, I'm like, let's do it. I don't care if I've known you for 20 years or 20 days, right? So if you want to share your day with me, I'd love to. And also what is going on that night, because what's really lovely is the movement away from Valentine's Day as a Hallmark holiday does at least allow for trivia night and stupid things to be happening that night and watching like,
going to
movies.
a comedy show or something
Exactly.
like that.
I mean, a comedy show's good every day. Like it
Thank
is,
you, right?
Especially
And guess
if you
what
live in one of
Valentine's
the
Day is?
cities that
Another
has
day.
great comedy, New York, Chicago,
Yeah.
Los Angeles. Actually, I mean, quite frankly,
Boston, Washington, Atlanta,
Nashville.
Denver.
Like lots of cities have great comedy.
That's right.
And a comedy show is a win every time, even if they suck.
Yeah.
It's a win.
You went out. You got out. You made eye contact with people you knew and didn't know.
Can I add something to this?
Yes.
I just had this conversation today. The beautiful thing about a bad stand-up show is it gives you something to talk about.
Oh, yes.
So when it's good, you can talk about it. When it's bad, you can talk about
Oh
it.
my God, yes. It's a story. And the only mediocre is the only loser in a comedy show. Really?
No, you
really?
know who the
Because if it's
loser-
going to be bad, you want it to be real
That's
bad.
very
You want to be
funny.
real, but the reality is also there is a way to lose a comedy. If you sat in the front and the comic like totally picked on you, and it was that first date, and you were outed on something or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, but then you're the story for everyone else
yes,
sitting around
but for you
Yeah,
driving
yeah.
home, not
That's
a
true.
good night.
Well, so
So when he asked you if you loved me and you didn't say yes, why that happened?
So for me, for Valentine's Day, I really don't do do anything.
Yeah.
I'm usually one to just sit at home, watch some movies, skip right past the Hulu Valentine's Day channel, and, you know, just hang out. You know, if there's a couple friends around, great. If we have a couple drinks, great. I think the key for solo people is to not feel pressure or resentment or like feel bad about the way you've chosen to live your life just because there's an entire industry making $1 billion that day, making everyone feel like they've got to feel bad if they didn't get the perfect gift or have the perfect person, or like, you know, get those dozen overpriced roses or make that reservation at that overpriced restaurant who has a special menu, which is 3 times the normal menu.
That they started making price 3 days ago, so you're going to bloat anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think... I think the key really is
There's a lot of IBS stuff coming out of your mouth right now.
Guys, what does your body want to absorb
on Valentine's Day?
On Valentine's Day.
Fair. So,
because I would much rather sit around, especially in this loft,
thank you,
making something together and watching Carrie, right? Which is like the best prom story, because you're like, fuck you, prom, because it's another example of how, especially America, has like bolded and highlighted something that I don't give a fuck about. And honestly, I have actually spent alone time on Valentine's Day sending out good vibes to people, because I know that it added the pressure to a relationship that wasn't ready to get this dose of love. And you're like, that's so inauthentic.
I'll give you so what's interesting is, so the Sunday, it's like the second Sunday after New Year's, or it's like the first Sunday after New Year's is the biggest online dating day of the year. Really? So like there's like a 30% increase in online dating.
Wow, that's
on that
fascinating.
Day. Fascinating. And
why?
What they attribute this to is this dual effect of coming out of the holidays where everybody's like, so is there someone special in your life?
Ugh.
Right? So there's that kind of this sort of familial pressure. And then the other one is Valentine's Day is 5-6 weeks away.
No, really, people are planning for that.
There's a little of that
pressure.
There's a little of that. So,
that makes me so sad.
You know what's just a few corners around? Your death. What really? What are you gonna let pressure you into? No.
So what I think is interesting. So Josh, you led with, I feel bad for people.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's interesting. There's this sort of interesting dynamic, which is, so the people who win on Valentine's Day are happy couples. I mean, happy couples with wealth. So if you're wealthy and a happy couple, it's a great day.
Yeah.
Right? It's a chance to reflect and it's a chance to celebrate, and it truly is something that, you know, sometimes you take things for granted, and it helps to have an external force that just goes, today's
the day that you two appreciate each other, and you're wealthy enough to hire a babysitter and go out to a nice restaurant and get the nice roses and the ring. And
I'm going to save up all my appreciation for you this week, and I'm only going to give it to you on Wednesday.
But I think that, like, you know, I think the thing is, again, like this idea of this podcast is it's not anti-marriage, not anti-couple, and let's be honest, some people do partnerships really well. They choose well. They're generous, they're supportive, they're good partners, and
my friend Danny and Dina figured it out, and it's always like, whenever I go to their house, and through the entire time I've known them, I'm always like, how did you guys? Because I see lots of not working ones, but you guys are like,
we should celebrate the folks who do it really well.
And I'll celebrate the relationships that got us to the place that we are consciously solo now.
Very nice.
Thank you so much for that. I don't want that. I want this.
Yes. So then the other two categories that I've always thought about were the unhappy couples, right? So I feel I have some sympathy for the unhappy couples.
Me too.
Because there's a lot of pressure.
Very much.
Now, again, sometimes external forces do us a favor, and maybe if it is the case that breaking up an unhappy couple breaking up is not a bad thing.
Exactly.
Right? And so there might even be a little bit of a silver lining in there.
Right.
Then there's the person who is not coupled and feels bad about it, right? Again, this external force, you're doing well, you're fine on the 10th, the 11th, you're fine on the 12th, the 13th, and then suddenly on the 14th, you feel like your life is lacking something that's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad for those people.
I've been there.
I think we all have in some way, shape, or form. It'd be pretty impossible, especially as a young person.
Right.
Well, but it's January, what? Right now, it's...
But this will come out right around
yes, but I'm
Day.
already seeing... It's like January 2nd.
Oh, you're already seeing the effects.
January 2nd, every store already has Valentine's shit up.
Yeah, because there's nothing going on between now and then.
Right.
I mean, there is stuff going on.
I guess there's like a President's Day or
There's
something.
Martin Luther
MLK
King.
Jr., there's President.
Yeah, but what do you sell for MLK?
You don't sell
How do
it.
you commercialize
Sorry,
that holiday?
Hallmark, you couldn't figure that one out?
Yeah, that's a hard one. But I want to say is there's a fourth category that I never considered until I started working on this project. And that's the people like us in the room today who are unpartnered and comfortable.
Yeah.
But for us, isn't it just any other day?
Well,
That's
that's
right.
what I was saying. Is like I was thinking about what I do. My typical Valentine's Day is just like any other day. If anything, what I probably do is I lean a little bit more into taking care of myself that day.
It's a good idea.
Right? So maybe I do a yoga class, or I go for a walk, or I
Self-love the shit out of yourself.
I might, I might have a quiet night. I might work on one of my secret projects.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a night that I can be free.
That's a great way to look at it. I
Yeah,
like
it really
that.
is.
In terms of like, oh, well, okay. It's like, I'm just going to celebrate the fact that I'm living a good life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stay away from the restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
And I do, by the way, I do buy flowers for myself. I buy flowers for myself every week,
Me too.
as we should. Josh does too. He's got some orchids
listen,
right
guys,
over there.
I buy lilies for myself
I got so
Why?
many.
because
so many
they
orchids.
smell amazing.
I like orchids. They're my flower. I get orchids.
See?
I like tulips.
Oh,
I don't buy them
You can't
often.
keep those
They're
alive.
hard to find, but that's my go-to flower.
Luckily, downtown Los Angeles is just 3 blocks from the
Oh,
flower
hey
mart.
now. Yeah.
But the thing is this, the best day to buy flowers?
The day after.
The 15th.
The day after
It's the best day to buy
Day.
Halloween candy, too.
True. And that shit'll last.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it will last.
Yeah.
Best day to buy ornaments, day after Christmas.
Oh, well done. Well done.
So I think so Josh, you answered the question how you're gonna spend Valentine's Day or how you generally spend it, Lily?
I generally don't have any consistency throughout my entire life because I've been on a gig that gives 0 fucks about what holiday it is. I've been literally working. I recently became a server in the last 5 years. I do that. I'll cater, right? I was working at Universal Studios as a tour guide, also still acting, like all the jobs
You're
in
hustling.
the world. I am hustling.
Yeah, you're hustling.
So this year will be the first time that I am without a job that I'm aware of, and I'll be with my dad and my bonus mom, and I hope that whatever they want to do, I don't get in the way of, and I would be more than happy to be invited into whatever they're doing because we play a pretty good throuple.
Maybe you could play this episode for them.
I mean, maybe. Sure.
She's not down with that.
No, they know everything about me.
I see.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I promised that we were going to be done before 16 minutes were up.
Where are we at?
We are 15 minutes and 35 seconds in.
Oh, shit.
20
Well,
seconds to rant. Get
then
it
I
all
would-
out.
I would like to ask any awesome people in the Los Angeles area to visit dtladinnerclub.com so that they can join the dinner club and get in on the awesomeness. If you're pretty cool, dtladinnerclub.com. Come have fun with us. It's totally free. Meet your friends and neighbors.
That'll be in the exhibits. Lily,
love
anything
that.
you want to finish with?
Just really glad to be here in the moment with you guys. Thank you for this.
This is great fun. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yay.
Thank you